Hi, and welcome back to my little knitting and crafting podcast here on YouTube. I go by Pearmaiden on everything, pretty much. Instagram, YouTube, Ravelry, and that's the cat. I figure I should probably just jump right in. I'll talk about what I'm wearing first. I'm wearing it's not self-drafted, it is heavily modified version of a 1960s cardigan from an Australian newspaper. I will put the link down below. I love this pattern, and I love vintage instructions that kind of just go off the rails and tell you like 5 numbers and say have fun, because it's always just a bit fun. It's got a sailor collar in the back. Let me see if I can, there we go. It's got a little sailor collar in the back. It was meant to be closed and have a pocket as well, but I decided to not have that. I don't even have buttons on it because I really don't wear my summer cardigans closed very often. It's made of Knit Picks palette yarn in Midnight Heather, and this is, I think, oyster heather as the contrast. It was some leftover yarn from a previous project, and it worked out perfectly. Personally, I probably wouldn't use this yarn again because in both the things I made, well, at least with this color, I feel like this color has something, I don't say wrong with it, but there's the cat. The cat. She thinks it's about lunchtime, so she's going to be bothering me. But this yarn in this color specifically, because I have made a couple of other things with some of this yarn and I didn't have nearly as much of a problem. But this color, for some reason, I don't know if it's the dye process or what, felts so easily. Like, I never put any of my knitwear through the laundry. It never goes, it gets washed. It doesn't go through the dishwasher. Oh my god. Don't worry, I never put any of my knitwear in the dishwasher. I never put it in the washing machine or anything, but this and a sweater I made of the same yarn with the same like base color, both felted along the sides from like under the arm almost all the way down, like where it rubs against your arms as you walk, or like where if you have like a coat on. I mean, I don't really wear a coat with this very often, but just the sort of where your body touches it again. And it's disappointing. It's not unwearable. It's not. The sweater's a little more uncomfortable because it feels a bit stiffer with the felted areas, but I really like it as a cardigan. And I definitely want to knit more things with sailor colors because I think there's such a nice detail, and the fact that it's a wide, like super wide collar in the back, you can wear a lot of different tops underneath that won't interfere with the sailor collar, because like if you have a stand collar or Peter Pan collar or something of that nature, it doesn't interfere. Like this is just a lace, applied lace colors, this one, but you can wear like pretty much anything with a sailor collar, except for maybe another sailor collar. There's sailor collarception. And the dress is a plaid dress. Let me see. I'm in a new spot just today because I'm changing everything. This is a plaid, just a very simple retro-inspired plaid dress in a nice wool. It was kind of a silly decision to make a plaid dress in a nice medium weight wool with short sleeves, because you kind of have to have that perfect autumn weather for it to work out, where you want to wear wool, but you don't necessarily need full-length sleeves. But it gets like a good amount of wear. I wear it over like a turtleneck or something in the winter as well, because it's such a nice length of wool that I managed to find. So starting out, I want to talk about some things I finished, and I finished properly one thing, but I'm really excited about it because it was something I talked about last episode. Is this beret? I completely reknitted this. So I ripped this out and reknit it. If you saw my first episode, I had made this and hated it. Well, I hated the fit of it. And now that I've redone it, I love it. So I went ahead and went for the smaller size. It's the Cascade beret, knit in Me and EWE yarn and a Kid Silk alpaca, I think. Kid silk mohair. held together. And I love the pattern of this. It is so amazing. I'll put in some like better pictures of it flat and everything. I've worn it out already. I went ahead after I knit it last time and realized it was massively, massively too small. Massively, massively too small. Not too small, too big. It was really big. It was like a slouchy beanie hat thing. I had knit the medium size and I realized my error. I'm not really sure if this is 100% the reason why it turned out too big, because I had thought I got gauge, but I was measuring my gauge in the stitching, so in pattern. I was counting my gauge in pattern, and you needed to count the gauge in stockinette. Like you're supposed to knit a swatch in stockinette, and then measure your gauge there, and then move into the pattern section. And I was not doing that. I didn't, honestly, just saw the gauge thing, didn't read the little notation underneath it. I'm not sure if my gauge in pattern is that much bigger than it would be in stockinette, because like with the cables, I often find like your gauge drops a bit when you're cabling because there's so much tension in the stitches. That's the only thing I can think of. But I went ahead and knit this on smaller needles. Yep, on smaller needles, sorry. I went ahead and knit this on smaller needles and the size small. Now the problem is because it's got a 2 pattern repeat, it's got a lace section and a cable section. When you increase the size, you have to increase by like 40 stitches. So it is a lot smaller. I had to really aggressively block this. I ended up putting it over a pot lid and blocking it, very hard. I wet blocked it, and then as it was drying, I went over with a steamer with just like really intense steam, just holding it on each section and then stretching it. Because when I finished this, it was probably, well, I mean, this is like the size of my face. It's the size of a beret. It was probably a third smaller than this when I finished. But I will say the blocking gives it a really nice, and I'll pop in some more photos, it gives it a really nice shape. Even when you put it on your head, like it still has a really nice beret shape to it. Like you don't completely lose the shape of it. And you can even kind of, I don't really do this with berets because I feel like I look very silly, but it does actually have like an edge, which I think is from the very intense blocking. So I recommend if you do knit this pattern, which it's a great pattern, it's a free pattern. Other than the sizing issues I had, the pattern is very clear and very nice and all that. I would recommend going for a small size and knitting it, and then just realizing the blocking is going to be the thing that makes it work. Because when I finished it, I was like, oh no, all those project pages that I saw where people had made beanies by accident, I made a beanie by accident. But after blocking, and the fact that I did some heat in the blocking as well, it keeps its shape so incredibly well, even when worn. Like it feels almost like a felted wool beret. Not texturally, but like it keeps that nice shape when worn, which is my preference. I'm a big beret lover. So I'm going to share one other thing I'm almost finished on. I finished this, well, I came close to finishing this in like May, which was really unfortunate because in May it was really hot. In May, we just moved a couple months ago, but in May I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is warm, and finishing a pair of massive colorwork socks in May means they're not getting worn at all. Like I finished these, I put them on to make sure they fit, I blocked them, and then I didn't finish them and I didn't wear them. But it's nice and chilly here. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as of now, and it's chilly. It's we got down to freezing, and it's probably like late fall feeling out. So I'm really excited to wear these, but they do need one more thing, and I'm pulling them out as almost a reminder to myself. So these are, and I will warn you, like I feel like every episode I'm going to have to do this. These look wonky when they're not on legs. I will put a photo of them on legs because to do the color work, all the way up. So these reach above my knees. So this is like all the way to thigh length. You have to make the knitting a lot wider than like a regular knee-high sock, just a plain stockinette stitch. So it does get like foomp kind of sizing, because yeah, it's necessary to fit them on. These are, there's one each way, mushroom socks. So I really love these. It's 2 patterns of mushrooms, which I just came up with the little patterns. And it's some little brown and white mushrooms and some white and red mushrooms. Just a little pattern. It's the same pattern repeating from the ankle up. And the one thing I have left to do is to fold in the cuff and put some elastic in here. They do actually stay up without the elastic, but I really hate socks sliding down, so I wanted to just add some elastic as just a security measure. I don't really want a sock to slip down in public. It's awkward to pull your socks back up, but they're just regular socks up to the ankle, in which case they have the color work all the way up. These took forever to knit. I was super excited to try colorwork socks, and then I kind of got overzealous. I was thinking I would make like crew socks, you know, a couple inches, maybe 4 or 5 inches above the ankle, and then I got started. I got through the 2 repeats, and I'm like, you know what? I could just keep going, and I did. And I went on both the socks. They go up to thigh high, like not full like nylon thigh high level, but like above the knee kind of look, which I really like. They don't really show underneath my skirt, like, so they sort of look like tights a bit, and they're very warm. They feel like leggings. They're very nice and toasty. I'm really excited to wear them, but I've got one more thing to do, and I pulled them out of my closet today. These are made of Holst Super Soft, and then the white is the oyster heather, which is the same color as this. I bought some as a contrast for a sweater like 4 years ago, and I have been using it little by little, and it worked out perfectly. I really love this. Yeah, they're so fun. They're very much statement socks, and I feel like I need something very simple to wear them with, because massively mushroomed socks, how can that not be the main point of an outfit? But I just thought these were really fun. I'm gonna try some like more sedate colorwork socks. Maybe not sedate. Probably slightly not thigh-high colorwork socks in the future. But I was really, really happy with this. This is like colorwork in Holst Super Soft is gorgeous. Like this, it blocked out all of my, see if I can't even find a spot to show you. Maybe a tiny bit over here. You can see a tiny little stretch stitch right there. But the fact I was knitting these magic loop, so there was like a tiny bit of laddering that was happening, and because I occasionally had to do color work across those splits where you split where you're starting round on a needle, they blocked out perfectly. I was so excited. I was a little worried when I finished these, but they look amazing and they're so cozy. I really kind of want to make a pair of like knitted pants or knitted leggings that would take forever, but they would be super duper cozy. That's the only knit things I have done. I have a few works in progress. I also have one little itty bitty crochet thing I want to show you guys. I don't do a ton of crochet. I'm not very good at it. I find crochet like very meditative. It's very repetitive, and I like knitting very simple things. So like I have a scrap blanket and all that kind of stuff going. But the one thing I really like with crochet is crochet lace, because I feel like it's really delicate looking and you can get a lot of things that you can't necessarily get in knit lace. So I made some crochet lace. This is just from a pattern on YouTube. I'm really bad at reading crochet patterns, which is funny because I like reading. I can have no problem with knitting patterns. I've just never really got the hang of crochet patterns as well, so I like videos. And so I made some just out of some kind of heavyweight cotton to try out the pattern. I intend to making this a nice, very thin cotton to use for something else, but I was really excited about this. It's a nice way to get back into doing a bit of crochet. So hopefully there'll be lots more of that. I have like a dream in my head of making all the lace I use in projects, for my sewing projects, like just making it all myself. That's not possible. That would take a lot of time, but it's one of those things. It's like one day I'm gonna make an incredibly lacy dress made of only the lace I've made. I do crochet lace. I also do bobbin lace, and like if I could make a dress with all my own bobbin lace, I would love that so much. But that would take like 5 years to make the lace for a dress. I'm a definite novice when it comes to bobbin lace. Yes, Maisie. She thinks it's lunchtime. It's half an hour till lunchtime. She'll get ready. Don't worry. The last, no, I guess I have 2 works in progress currently. One thing I've been working on quite hard these last couple weeks has been, and I'm going down, has been a cardigan. I think I mentioned this previously that I have been attempting to not have B-team clothes. Meaning I don't have things that don't 100% fit what I want to wear. And I don't have anything that is like something I keep in my wardrobe because I feel bad getting rid of it, not because I like it. So I had this one sweater that was my first cable knit sweater. I'll pop in a photo because I totally, it's not a thing anymore. It has been ripped up. I frogged it. I completely ripped it out. So I completely frogged it because even though I really did enjoy the pattern, I realized that it wasn't something I reached for. The problems mainly were the fact that it was cropped and that it was boxy. It was cropped and a boxy fit. And it ended up with like a drop shoulder fit as well, which it had a set-in sleeve, like an actual curved sleeve head, but it looked like a drop shoulder on because the shoulders were just a bit too wide on me, which I know is surprising. But it was a very cute sweater, and if it had been like long, I think it would have worked out really nicely. And I liked it, and I wore it several times. Well, more than several times. I wore it for like a year. But I kept reaching into my closet for a cream sweater and realizing that like I just didn't want to put it on. I'd rather reach for something else. And I didn't have any other cream sweaters that were for the winter. So I decided to frog that one and reknit it into something else because the yarn was amazing. It's a nice woolly wool. It's a vintage yarn. And I figured I can just reknit it into something else. So I will preface by the fact I have reknit this, so it's going to need a heavy blocking to look nice and smooth afterwards because it's got that, here, I'll show you the yarn that's been ripped out has got that ramen noodle texture of having been held in stitches for a couple of years, like in a stitch pattern and then being ripped out. So everything does look a tiny bit wibbly wobbly until after blocking. So I did finish the body and I lightly blocked this. And just so I could sew it together and know how the size was going to fit. This looks like a bowl of oatmeal currently. But it is a piece sweater, and it's got, let me see if I can. All right, it has got some texture stitches on there. It's got little diamonds, and this is like an old Gansey pattern style texture pattern. I believe it's called, it had a name. It was one of those ones in a treasury of stitch patterns, a treasury of knitting patterns by Barbara. I'll put it down there, and I'll put it probably here somewhere of the pattern book. It's an amazing pattern book. I recommend at least the first 2. If you can find the first 2. The next 2 are like, meh. The first 2 are amazing in terms of you can just make absolutely anything once you have those books. But I think it has a name for this pattern, this texture stitch pattern. And I really wanted something that was like, it gives a little interest. It doesn't just look plain, but it doesn't look intentional. Like it looks intentional, but it doesn't overwhelm the fact that it's a very simple cream cardigan. because what I wanted was a very simple cream cardigan that was long sleeved, something that would just kind of fit my wardrobe as a staple, because cream is my neutral. Cream is my favorite neutral to wear. This cat, she's right there. She's yeah. Maisie. I don't think that's helping. She's yeah. Okay. I really wanted something that would fill a gap in my wardrobe, but also not be a standout piece. I have a tendency to want to knit standout pieces because they're hand knit, you know? You want them to be exciting and fun. I mean, mushroom socks. But I really wanted something that was a staple, that was really easy to throw on, that didn't have a lot of like contrast colors, that didn't have a lot of features that would take away from the other things that I was wearing. So I think this is going to be perfect. The back is plain stockinette, which I am finding I really, really like. It's something you see a lot on commercial garments because it saves yarn and is quicker to just have a plain back and then a patterned front. But what I really like about that is that the back hugs your back a little better when there's not a lot of texture. So I think going forward for a lot of my sweaters that are knit pieced, I'll probably do a plain back because it gives a really nice look, especially with a cropped sweater, like a full pattern, like oversized or at least like hip length sweater. I don't think it matters as much because it's not going to be hugging your back very much. But in a cropped like just waist where it actually stops at the like narrowest part of your waist, I think it really makes the cardigan have like a nice shape. So I think that's one thing I want to continue to do is have a plain back on things. It really does just make it nice and simple. And especially for a winter cardigan like this, that oftentimes is going to be worn underneath a jacket. It's just a nice smooth finish, I think. So the front is done. I haven't done the bands or the neckline yet, and I'm working on the sleeves. So this is my second sleeve, and these are just plain, absolutely plain, just slightly bubbly at the top, or at the cuff. And I have another sleeve done. Maybe it's in here? Nope. Oh, I do have, okay. So the other problem with this cardigan, before I frogged it, is that part of the yarn had discolored. So it was all sheep colored, like it's all undyed. And then the last ball that I used, I was running out and I had to crack into one more skein. And that skein changed colors. The thing is, this matched perfectly. I don't know if you can see how bad it looks in real life. This matched perfectly when I knit it. And then over the like year and a half since I knit it, it has slowly gotten darker. So if you can see that stripiness, little tiger stripes that it has, it really just doesn't work. Like it looks really bad because you can tell there's a different color. And the fact that it took a couple of years to like actually discolor is really weird. I think it must have not been the same ball, like they came together, but it was a de-stash and it must have been like a different type of yarn. But it is like coffee colored almost, and this is the proper cream. So I was really happy to be able to take it apart and reknit it. So this is one of my old sleeves that I haven't pulled apart yet. It used to have this cable pattern, just a really simple cable. So I'm really hoping to finish this soon. I've been working really hard at getting the sleeves done. I'm on absolute sleeve island. Luckily the sleeves are very plain and they're in the round so I can like read and knit, and that's making it go faster. But yeah, I get almost done on these, and it's just gonna be such a nice basic. It's so uninspiring to knit basics sometimes. I mean, the yarn feels beautiful and I'm gonna love the end project, but I'm really happy that I ripped out the other one because I will like this one so much more. I will get so much more wear out of it. It is 100% something that is gonna be like a staple, and why not make it the best staple that I can since I'm the one making it, right? I can't tell you what kind of yarn it is. I bought it on de-stash, didn't have labels, and it's 100% wool, not superwash. It's definitely on the woolier side, but I don't know what type of yarn it is. I love a de-stash, but it does leave you with some questions sometimes. The last work in progress I have I still have like my socks that I showed last time, but they've been just like a slow project that I want to glue them till I'm done, because you don't want to see like I've knit an inch on a sock. It's not exciting. I really just use them as train knitting, so if I don't take the train very often, I'm not knitting them. So my last work in progress that's actually going on is one that I'm actually gonna rip this out. And that's just a theme, right? I thought I would love this pattern, and I don't. So I've come up with another one, but I'll show you what I have first, because it's the same general idea. I just want to make a few changes. So this is a cable pattern, which looks really horrible when I hold it like that. Let's see if I can, yeah. Fab. And one thing I hate is the gauge. I knit a swatch in this gauge. I knit a swatch of one of the cables in this gauge, and I really liked it. And now that I'm knitting it, I hate it. I absolutely, truly hate this gauge. It's too thin. It's too big of a needle. It leaves too thin of a fabric. Like when you hold it against yourself, you cannot see any, like it's not see-through. But it is actually a bit see-through. So it's not my favorite. I do love this yarn though. And I do love like how I got these little cables to match into the ribbing really nicely there. Like I'm so excited about that. Like they slide in perfectly to the ribbing. But I decided against this. I don't like how much negative space there is. So there's a lot of space that are purely purl stitches to make the background, which obviously you need that on a cable pattern. But I really, really wanted something that had a lot more intense cables. Like I want that sort of very rustic-y 3D effect of cables, and these are just a little too simple. So these are from, I have the book here. The cable in this one, well, the main cable is from the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible, which I love. I think it's amazing. I just didn't think it through when I picked the cable. Because I love the cable individually, but the outline, it's how it's put in there, is they have like pattern suggestions basically, where they take individual parts and smoosh them together into one nice bigger pattern for panels. And I just think this one's a bit too sparse. It's a little too delicate looking, and while I can appreciate that it's really pretty, I really wanted something a bit more robust looking. Because I'm going to make a cardigan. I should probably say that. It's self-drafted cardigan. It's going to be this lovely green with a ton of cables, which are the front panels, and then plain on the back, and maybe a slightly cabled sleeve. I really just want like a nice, impactful cable on it. So I found a couple of other cables that are mainly heritage cables. I'm not really sure if that's the word you should use on it, but I mean like cables that have been around long enough. They don't have like an author to make them, who have made them. They just exist. And I'm going to put them together. So I have been swatching with a couple of different other gauges. I think I'm going to use the gauge that I'm using on the ribbing as my gauge for the whole cardigan, and go down another needle size for the ribbing from now on. And adventure upon adventures, I am charting this out. Because I have 4 different cables that I'm using for this, I am writing out the charts myself, which has been a massive undertaking. I have so much admiration for designers, because this is ridiculously difficult, and I'm writing it for one size. Like, I'm just writing it for my own size. I don't have to make it graded for a bunch of other people. The other problem is I am so used to Japanese charting. So I'm going to show you the pattern in here, but I'll show you the charting. If you're not familiar with Japanese charting, it uses charting symbols. That way, when you come out with a big chart, which, let's see some of these here, you've got, it's very easy shorthand. And I love it. And I'm so used to the Japanese charting system. And very few charting creators online allow you to use the Japanese charting system. They require the Western charting system, which I cannot get my head around. So I am on the verge of charting this out by hand, which absolutely melts my brain. But I will get there, because I'm so determined to have this sweater and be super cabley and super rich. And so I'm knitting this in you won't see this ever again. This is going to get ripped out. But so far I've been knitting this in Holst Garn tides, and I love this. I got a giant cone of this. Knit and held double, so I've got a little ball and a cone that I've been working off of. This is the wool silk base, which is 30% wool, nope, 30% silk, 70% wool. It's called Tides, and it's got like a little nep to it. Like, I think the neps are the silk, so it's got like a light green neps into the darker green base, which I really like. So I can get a good color on that one. It's a little richer than what it's showing up, I think. But I really love this. I love how it knits up. It knits up to like a very rich fabric, but it is a very dry yarn. I was very surprised. I know silk is a drier type fabric, but it feels like knitting cotton or linen almost. With such a high wool content, I wasn't expecting it, but it does bloom. I mean, it's Holst, it blooms beautifully. And the cone is, of course, incredibly affordable. And I don't think I'm going to use a whole cone on this sweater because it's going to be a cropped, 0 ease cardigan, because that's what I knit the most of. But I was really excited to try this base as well. Holst is just sort of like an absolute favorite for me. The price point, the color selection is incredible. Like, I really want to try woolly knit because I know that that's been like a really big trend recently. The woolly knit knit-alongs and all that kind of stuff have been going on, except for it's really expensive to ship. And Holst actually has some pretty decent shipping prices when you buy enough at a time, which is why I tend to like buy once a year, and I buy a bunch and then knit from it from the whole year and then buy again. That's all my work is in progress for knitting. I have one little acquisition for sewing, as you can see behind me. Let's see, there we go. It's really hard to do this in the camera because I can kind of see myself like in there. I finally have a sewing setup. So after we moved, I did not bring my sewing desk or anything of that nature, mainly because it wasn't in good enough condition to be worth moving. It was just a desk that I just sort of retrofitted for sewing, but I have a proper sewing desk now. And my machine, this is my very retro Kenmore. I love her. She had to be rewired because the on and off switch popped, and she's lovely now. She's fixed. I love a vintage machine. I really like a vintage machine. And then my serger, I haven't tested her after moving. They don't have names or anything. I've never named them, but for some reason I call them females. But yep, I have to turn that on. And then I've got my crafting things. This is just a set of boxes because I haven't decided on storage yet because I am indecisive. The only reason I have a sewing desk is because my husband bought one for me as a surprise because he was tired of me like trying to sew on the floor. So I just have some boxes, and I'll get some I was thinking like little cubbies, maybe with some drawers or something. I like storage that closes, so this makes me a little antsy. And then up on the top is my St. Francis of Assisi embroidery. He is in medieval embroidery. I'm going to put what it's called right now because my brain is lost as to what it's called. But it's a specific type of medieval embroidery. And I will get him finished one day. One day. It takes a long time. And you definitely have to be in the mood for like very small stitches. But he hangs out up there. It's a hagiography style embroidery. Opus Anglicanum. There we go. My brain turned on. But he's going to be really cool when he's finished. I'm not a super religious person or anything. I just think the imagery is really pretty. So, yeah. But I have sewing set up now, and that means I can actually start sewing. So I bought some fabric. I haven't sewed since we moved, and we moved in August, and I am dying. I think this has probably been one of the longest stretches that I haven't sewn since I started sewing. Yeah, I think so. I had leg surgery when I was sewing previously, and I actually rigged it up to put it on like a little lap desk in bed, and I could do it with the knee on my good leg. So this is a long time to not be sewing. So I'm gonna show you one of the fabrics I got as I disappear into the ether. This is actually a sheet because I love repurposing fabric. I also truly, truly hate buying cotton flannel at a fabric store. I'm sure there's some good cotton flannels you can buy at fabric stores, but none locally. I have had such bad luck, like especially with like the Joann's cotton flannels are horrible. Like they come out with such pretty prints. They come out with every single color you could want, and you think, oh, I'll make a pair of PJs, or I'll make like a little house dress. It'll be so cute and cozy, and then it's wrecked. It's absolutely wrecked within like a year, and I don't find that. I don't sew things to have them die in a year. I could go to Forever 21 or, Shein or H&M or something if I wanted clothes that died in a year. I sew it because I want it to last. So my favorite trick for this, especially for finding really nice quality cotton flannels, is sheets because they're cheap, especially when you just buy, this is a fitted sheet, which is why it's folded so absolutely horrible. I'm so sorry. But they often go on clearance, especially like the ones that are sold separately because like they sell out of various colors and then they go on clearance when they get new color changes back in for the different seasons. So I got this to use for a blouse. I really have wanted a cream blouse. I'll hold it like pop it there. I really wanted a cream colored blouse because, well, I have cream colored blouses, but I wanted a nice wintry one that was very simple. My only long sleeve cream colored blouse is silk. It's a silk Peter Pan color blouse, and I love it. It's vintage, it's amazing, it's in great condition, but it's silk. And it does mean that it needs more care. It does mean that I have to be a bit more, cautious about how I wear it, where I wear it. And now that I live in some place that's a lot rainier, I need to be more aware of the fact that it could get ruined, it could get damaged. And yeah, I want to extend its lifespan. So I really wanted something cozy and wintry, and I want a nice simple blouse out of this is like I think this probably skates the line between like a brushed cotton and a cotton flannel. It's got some nap to it, but it doesn't really have the density you would expect from a true cotton flannel, which I think it works out for a blouse. I'm just gonna make a really super simple, probably Peter Pan collar blouse. I was kind of thinking about making it collarless and then adding in a couple of detachable collars. We'll see if I have that kind of motivation or not, because I think it'd be really cool to have a couple of detachable collars that I could either like snap on or tie on or button on, some way that have like different types of embroidery on them, because I could then have like 3 or 4 different Peter Pan collars and then like have different embroidery. I love the ones that have like little teapots or little bits of fruit or something, but the problem is when you have a blouse like that is it limits what you can wear it with, because you then have an accent color to work with. I think a detachable collar would be really cool for that. So this is my one fabric purchase I have currently, and I have 2 other fabrics on the way for making dresses. I'm really excited to live someplace a little cooler. Okay, I'm not excited to live someplace cooler. It's very cold here. It's already froze and I'm not used to it, but I am really excited for the opportunity to wear some more heavyweight fabrics. I have another set of navy wool coming in. I know, right? A navy wool. I'm wearing all navy, like navy and cream, right? But it's a color I know I'm gonna wear. I don't actually have any plain navy dresses, so I figured I would make something out of plain navy. I also have a beautiful rust with a little lighter weight cotton coming in as well. And I'm really, really excited to get started on that. It feels very fall appropriate, like a deep rust. And I'm trying to get more solid colored dresses in my wardrobe. just for the mix and match potential, especially because I started sewing first, and then I moved on to knitting. And with sewing, I got a lot of pattern things, a lot of things that have like, a lot of interest in them as fabrics. So patterns, colors, details that really shine and speak for themselves. But now that I knit, I find that I want sometimes my knitwear to shine. I want it to be the statement piece of an outfit. And I've been gravitating more towards some more solids. I still like detail and things like that in the garments, but I want to increase my wardrobe of solids a bit. So that's all I have this week. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. Tell me in the comments, like, what is your fall color palette leaning towards? Have you started that? Or if you're in the other hemisphere, how is your spring, summer color palette leaning? Have you made some different changes? And I will see you in a couple of weeks.